This is the Spurs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the San Antonio Spurs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The San Antonio Spurs team, they just continue to find ways to make you feel great about life. They continue to find ways to make you pull your hair out. They continue to find ways to make you doubt them a little bit. They did all three of those things tonight, but at the end of the day, if it leads to a win, if it leads to a number of chalk mark on the good side of things, you live with it. You take it. And that's what happened with the Spurs tonight up in Toronto. Welcome into the Spurs Postcast right here on Locked On Spurs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You know it by now, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Our buddy Devin Brown, NBA champion, got the night off, so I'm going to be captaining this ship solo this evening. I'm Casey Viera, following a 110-107 victory for the Spurs north of the border against a good Toronto Raptors team, one that saw the Spurs trail by double digits, one that saw them go up big in crunch time, one that saw them, feel like they were going to fold the game in crunch time. But at the end of the day, another victory. The win streak hits 10, 6-0 on the rodeo road trip, and we're all feeling good. We're all, collectively exhaling on the first of a back-to-back as they now shift over to New York City and taking on Brooklyn tomorrow. So that said, let's talk about it. We'll tell you how we got there.
This is what you'll be talking about.
The bullet points on this Raptors team is that it is, aside from maybe the Spurs, aside from maybe the Pistons, this is one of the more dramatic turnarounds in the league, because last year, just pretty much an afterthought, no real rhyme or reason. Darko Rajakovic, the head coach, there was thought he wouldn't even be here going into this season because they were not good. Well, they've turned it around entirely, firmly in playoff positioning right now in the Eastern Conference, currently in that 4-5 or that 5-6 spot, I should say. So this was not a gimme. And if you remember at the start of the season, Toronto, when they were in San Antonio, I think it was fifth game of the season, Spurs had a 20-point lead, and the Raptors came all the way back, and it was competitive in the fourth quarter. Part of that stretch, remember at the start of the year where they were blowing big leads against the Nets and the Heat, the Raptors were sandwiched right in there as well, but the Spurs ultimately won the game and played the part they did tonight of, at least in the first half, of looking to do the same, going up by one after the first quarter of play. Dylan Harper played very well tonight. Check this out. 11 of the team's first 35 points, that went his direction, and ultimately had things in control. But Victor had a real hard time in the first half getting anything going. Did not record a field goal, only had 4 points. Vassell had 13 on the good side of things, but ultimately the Raptors jump out to a 59-57 advantage. And then we're worrying because the third quarter woes, they start popping up a little bit, and we're a little bit concerned because Toronto goes on a 12-point run or 12-0 run midway through the third. Ultimately, they blow things up to a 15-point lead. For the Houston viewers, Houston fans, or for the ATX viewers, Jamal Shed over there, you might remember that name, one of the great Houston Cougars. He was stirring up some trouble, and he did exactly that. The Spurs were finding themselves in a 15-point hole. But as we've seen before, very rarely when they fall in these double-digit holes do the games end in these double-digit deficits. And what do you know? That happened again. Subsequently, they start the fourth quarter on a 15-2 run. They go up by one, expanded even further. It's a 21-6 run that has them up by 6 with 3 minutes to go and has them up by 2 inside the final minute as we approach the final 15 seconds. And this is where things get really weird because the Spurs were awful shooting the free throw tonight. They were 13 of 23, and it was really encapsulated in the final 20 seconds. They're up 2. Dylan Harper goes to the line, misses a pair. But Dylan Harper gets his own rebound. De'Aaron Fox goes to the line. What does he do? He splits a pair. Raptors go back down on the other end, 10 seconds left, quickly splits a pair. Wemby gets fouled, trying to put this thing away. He can't do it. So ultimately, it sets up a shot for Brandon Ingram to tie it down by 3 in the closing moments. He can't do it. And ultimately, when it's all said and done, just window dressing, the Spurs walk away with a 110-107 defeat. 110-107 victory, I should say. Devin Vassell's the high man, 21 points. He was 5 of 6 from deep. Victor Wembanyama, not great on the offensive end this evening. Remember, 6 of 16 the other day against Detroit, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks, 1 of 6 from 3. De'Aaron Fox, 20 points, 2 of 8 from the free throw line. They made it interesting. They did everything in their part to make it interesting tonight from that aspect of it, especially the 13 of 23 part, but you live with it, right? You live with it. And ultimately, when you end the night on the right side of things, yeah, just kind of like any other night, any other loss, any other win, you talk about, what's good, what's bad, and you go forward from there and you try to focus on the positives. And there were a lot of positives tonight. I think the big thing for me was the resiliency that we've seen again to come back in these situations down by double digits, to not write the game off, right? Not write these games off, because how many times have we been in spots where we see teams, even the Spurs, plenty of in the past, regardless, they get, especially in the middle of a rodeo road trip like they're in right now, against a good team, no less. They're down double digits in the third quarter. They're on the front end of a back-to-back. They know they got their playoff positioning set. All right, it's not our night. We'll kick our feet up. We'll rest Victor's legs, and we'll see you tomorrow in Brooklyn. Not the case, right? Not the case. And a testament to them, and a testament to the job that Mitch Johnson did in this spot, and a testament to the fact that they were resilient one more time. Was it particularly pretty? No, it wasn't. But road games, they're never going to be particularly pretty in these type of spots. And doing exactly that, they get on the better side of things tonight. Mention Mitch Johnson. He did a really strong job tonight. Usually we reserve the X Factor animation when we talk about it for a player, but you know what? We pushed the button for him this evening.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under-the-radar impact with today's X Factor.
Because something that we've seen kind of become a real recurring, I guess, trend, for a lack of a better word, lack of a better term, is Mitch's, I guess, ability to maybe ride the hot hand, read a game very well, at least in my opinion. I think that's the best way to describe it. Not being afraid of pulling guys when he needs to, despite the name on the back of the jersey, with the exception of maybe like Victor and Fox. Well, that's not going to be the case with Victor, but with the exception of, he and maybe De'Aaron Fox, nobody is particularly safe. And you saw that tonight. You saw that in crunch time, because there was 2 real moments in the second half where you were kind of wondering, all right, might be onto something here. Keldon Johnson had a situation, I say situation very loosely, but had a misread in transition where he missed Devin Vassell, was perhaps a little bit more aggressive going to the cup, and missed a good look there. He yanked him. Keldon, by the way, dealing with a shoulder situation today. Didn't seem too serious, but that happened as well. But he pulled Keldon Johnson out of the game. KJ only played 14 minutes tonight. That was the first example of it. The second example of it was something that we have not seen, at least in my immediate recollection, so to speak, was that the last 4 minutes of this game tonight, he ran out this lineup. Check out this lineup that goes, and feel free, you guys in the chat, if I'm botching this, correct me if I'm wrong, but when was the last time in crunch time he ran out a lineup that goes Fox, Harper, Champagnie, Vassell, Wembanyama to close things out, to close out a game? I can't remember it. So what that says to me, twofold, probably more than twofold. At least 3 things that stick out to me. One, like I said, he's not afraid. He's not married to the back of the jersey, the name on the back of the jersey, whoever it is. I mean, Stephon Castle, what I say, he had 13, 3, and 5 tonight. So it's not like he was a real afterthought. Still played almost 30 minutes, but he read the game well. So that's the first thing. And like I said, it doesn't matter who it was. He's riding the best hand out there. That was the first thing that stuck out. The second thing that stuck out is the loyalty to Dylan Harper in this spot. When you have the other guys, the Castles of the world, when you have the Foxes of the world, when in these type of big games has Dylan Harper, he's been very good. Has he instilled confidence enough that he should be getting some of those other guys minutes in crunch time? I mean, not particularly would say that. But Mitch Johnson, understandably so, disagrees with me. And Mitch Johnson believes in his guys, rightfully so. And as a result, he went that direction, went with Dylan Harper on that front, went with the Fox Harper thing, which continues to look better and better. I got to give him credit. I have been skeptical at times of the pairing of the two. You know, we're all wondering how the Fox Harper Castle thing will mesh until the end of time. We're going to do that. But I was really impressed with the deserved, now more I say that, really the deserved aspect of it, of Harper getting these crunch time minutes and the decision making, you know, attacking when to attack, defer when to defer. You're not crazy about the 2 missed free throws with 16 seconds left or whatever it was, but hey, you feel that much better. I think Sean on the broadcast, Sean Elliott referred to it as the old Manu Ginobili play of, and maybe that it was probably a little ambitious referencing Manu off of a missed free throw to do that in that context when the ball was essentially loose. And yeah, I digress. Dylan Harper, tremendous on that front. And I think what this speaks to me now going forward, you know, that aspect of the loyalties, the Harpers, the things like that. And this lineup to close out the game, we continue to see new ways that they're winning games, right? We continue to see new ways that they're prevailing and they're kind of silencing doubters about this stuff. And if you're able to put out lineups there, the positional versatility that you have Vassell at the 4, real big time minutes of Devin Vassell at the 4, Champagny at the 4, whatever which way you want to play it. Those two guys, a rookie point guard out there as well, and you're riding with that in crunch time. What does that say about you as a head coach? One, you're confident in your guys, but two, on the other side, you should be so too. You should be very confident. Those guys continue to take that next step, and they continue to impress. And then there's the obvious, like we know, the givens, like we do know. You know, Victor had some real big blocks down the stretch. One on our old buddy Jakob Poeltl inside 30 seconds to go. That was good. I will say this, man, and you guys at home, you probably saw it too. Victor and Jakob, they went at it. They were real good. And sometimes I was watching Poeltl. I was like, man, where was this physicality when he was in San Antonio? I liked him. I think everyone liked Jakob Poeltl when he was here. But I was like, man, he's not backing down. He doesn't care that it's, you know, the defensive player of the year on the other side of things. It was good to see. It was good to see Jakob. I'm always a fan, and you know, a testament to that, to the job that you know, he did on Victor down the stretch. But Victor obviously got the one-upsmanship. And then at the end of the day, the Detroit Pistons beat the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. And as a result, the Spurs are now 2 games back of the top seed in the Western Conference. And the San Antonio Spurs are firmly within reach of potentially maybe taking hold of the Western Conference. On the back end of that, too, they also are now, depending on what happens with the Nuggets tonight, at minimum 5.5 up on the 3 seed in the West. So collectively, good things all the way around. Tonight, up there in Toronto, right? Up there in Toronto. And now it's all the way back across the border, and they go to Brooklyn, back to New York City. So coming up on the other side of things, let's talk about this little trip to the Northeast and what we expect, what we're looking forward to, and the realistic possibility that the Spurs could have an undefeated rodeo road trip and an undefeated month of February. Little ambitious, perhaps, but you know what? Coming off of wins, that's what we do, right? We feel good. We feel ambitious, much like we do tonight. Hey, until we get there, before we get to all that, we have a conversation first about some of our friends who help in putting this program together. And that, of course, are friends over there at FanDuel. And every time I'm hitting you guys with this ad read, it's becoming more and more and more applicable to you. This is not last season when we were doing this ad read, when we were saying this, when the Spurs had whatever they had, 30-something wins. You get what I'm going for, because right now, FanDuel is giving you the shot at home, the chance to go to the NBA Finals live and in person. Well, how they do that? Here's how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win a trip to go to the finals, and not just to the games, flights, tickets, everything. So when you're putting down, I think the Spurs entered the day, they were plus 950, like third best odds to win it all, behind OKC and Denver, which still seems a little slanderous to me. That profit boost right there, it puts you in contention, a chance to go to the NBA Finals. So that said, if you haven't already, FanDuel.com is where you're going, and play your game with FanDuel and the chance to go to the finals with the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Also want to talk to the folks that are trying to get some better folks to fill the vacancies, the job vacancies that they might be having this time of year, the business owners, because as we know, end of the month, things add up, right? And the pressure's on. You need the right hire. And sometimes you just get lost in day-to-day life. That's when Indeed sponsored jobs, they help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. So the right candidate, and they just don't fall into your post. You want skills, experience, location, all that stuff. Sometimes the basics that go by the wayside. And so here's a stat that says it all. In the minute, give or take, we've been talking right now, companies like your own, they've made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, you know where you're going. Listeners of the show going to get $75, a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get that job, that listing, premium status it deserves with Indeed.com/podcast. As always, terms and conditions apply. Spurs Postcast rolling on tonight following a big-time victory, a hard-fought, gritty victory for the San Antonio Spurs north of the border, a 110-107 victory coming back from 15 down in the third to knock off the Toronto Raptors. So the rodeo road trip continues back to New York City for a pair of games, first on the tail end of a back-to-back against the Brooklyn Nets, Sunday in the Garden against the New York Knicks before they put a bow on all of it with a trip to Philly against a 76ers team that's playing pretty well, or at least better than they were last year. And it feels like every time the Spurs have been to Philly recently, they've had some sort of calamity, whether it been, I think it was last year when I think it was Champagny threw the ball away. Maxey, he had a poster dunk and a putback dunk and like whatever it was in like the final 30 seconds. And then can't forget the year before, again, speaking to different times, when Joel Embiid put 70 on Victor in his rookie season. But obviously, again, that's different times from what we're talking about right now. But again, 2 games to go until we get there, including this Brooklyn game tomorrow, tail end of a back-to-back. This screams trap game, right? This screams trap game. We've seen it so many times before in these situations where they're just like riding high, this Spurs squad, mountain high. You just go back, and I hate to keep going back to what it was, but after they beat the Thunder on Christmas Day and their last longest win streak of the season, that 8-game streak, they come back home against Utah and they get their doors blown off. Fresh off the Christmas holiday, all the kids are off at school. They're like, yeah, we're going to go see. Utah is not exactly a marquee ticket. We're going to get in, and the Spurs just get rocked by the Jazz. So I think we all kind of got a little bit of PTSD on that front. But if you look at it, what it is, obviously the Brooklyn Nets rebuilding, different looking team. They've consistently been a modest to good defensive squad throughout the season, or they've at least had moments. And above all else, remember for the home opener all the way back in December, or all the way back in October, I guess it was, now that I say that, third game of the season, the Spurs were up by 20 plus. And that Brooklyn team, they just pieced together a rally at the right time. And they put the fear of life into that Spurs squad. But it wasn't for some big-time buckets down the stretch. Victor had a big-time 3, and they ultimately – I'm going to say that out loud, man. Remember we were how excited we were? Think about how far we've come, how far things have changed. We were celebrating 3-0 at the start of the year. That was like, I guess that would be our third postcast that we did. And that, like, to this moment, to this time right now, is still one of our better viewed postcasts. So go back and watch. It was good. And compare it to now, where the standard's been. It was fun. Point being, they're no slouch, this Nets team, especially when you're coming into a situation where you're going across country or back into the country, back to back, as our buddy Devin Brown says all the time, those cold winters. He likes to say cold winters in Memphis in these kind of situations. Cold winter in New York. Don't get trapped, because we know what's on the other side of that Brooklyn game. Outside the Barclays Center, the New York Knicks, Madison Square Garden, a place where Victor, we know, had that big game last season, Christmas Day. And I'll tell you what, you guys at home, if you're looking for easy money on a game, and I know the Knicks are a hot ticket or pricey ticket, so I say this relatively speaking, but if you know that a game, you want to see a good game, just wherever it is, jump in on Knicks Spurs, man, because ever since Wemby got to town, every meeting between the two has just been nuts. Even if he hasn't been there, like last year, they were talking about on the broadcast tonight with Mamu had that 31 and 19 minutes last year. Victor didn't even play, and that was fun too. That's easy money. I'm excited for that this weekend too, but they can't get trapped by this Brooklyn team first. And the more we've seen the year go on, we've seen the Spurs not looking like they're going to get trapped, right? Perhaps moments where we hit pause, moments where we need to breathe a little bit, but they've looked pretty good in those spots. So I'm confident going into tomorrow that they would extend this win streak to 11. And if they do exactly that, yes, the streak would be 11, obviously. But it would also mean they're playing perfect in the month of February. A perfect 11-0. And I know it's February, the All-Star break, so the schedule is a little bit more condensed. The last time that happened, that the Spurs went perfect in a month, the year 2014. And obviously, we know how that ended. That ended with a championship. A little bit ways to go until then, but we'll find out. Perfect is perfect. It doesn't matter if there's 11 games, doesn't matter if there's 20 games. If you're doing your job and you're taking care of business, you take it. Much was the case tonight for our player of the game, Mr. Devin Vassell.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
He had 21 tonight, Devin Vassell, coming off that 28-point performance, second consecutive game that he's led the team in scoring. That 28, coming against Detroit earlier in the week. First time he's had consecutive 20-point scoring games since way back in the end of November. So that's obviously a positive sign, positive steps going forward, especially when you need it, especially when your stars aren't shooting particularly great. When you got Vic 3 of 12, and then the other day when he was 6 of 16, if you got guys like Devin Vassell doing what he did tonight, you feel a heck of a lot better, and you continue to feel just really good about what this team can do and realistically what the championship chances are. And they're looking really good. They're looking really good. Hey, be sure to come back bright and early tomorrow. Jeff Garcia will be back, as he always is, with a title pod right here for you on Locked On Spurs. And following the game, 6:30 tip-off in Brooklyn tomorrow night, our pal, Mr. NBA champion Devin Brown, he will be back in attendance, and we'll put a bow on things on hopefully the 11th consecutive win for the San Antonio Spurs right here on the Spurs Postcast on Locked On Spurs. As we do every time we get out of here, shout out to you guys. You're the ones that make this fun, make this special, make it that much more enjoyable. And we're happy that you guys get to do it, watching wins along the way just as much as we are. And, just know that we're always enjoying being a part of it as the Locked On Network as a whole. Good night for the San Antonio Spurs. Make it an even 10 wins in a row. They take care of business, and they battle their way past the Toronto Raptors. So that's it. Good place to leave it on a Wednesday night. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening and on into Thursday.